Thank you all for coming. Thank you everyone for coming, and we'll get started. This is a day about recognizing and thanking volunteers, people who do things for others. First of all, we want to thank Rockland Trust Charitable Foundation for being the sponsor of this event, and I want to introduce Cheryl O'Donnell, who's the Assistant Vice President and the Branch Manager of the Rockland Trust here in Medfield, and their generous sponsorship for the past 4 years has allowed this reception to take place, and it also allows each of the named recipients to make a $100 donation to the charity of their choice. And I think we restrict them to Medfield at this point. But Cheryl, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Pete. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Rockland Trust is very proud to sponsor the communities that we serve, and this event is certainly no exception. We've been doing it for a couple of years, and each time it comes up and Kathy Brennan comes to visit me, we're very proud to be able to do it for the Medfield Foundation. And, when I think of volunteerism and volunteers and the number of volunteers in a community, it's seemingly endless. And some of them you see all the time, and some of them you never see at all. So I think this event is a wonderful opportunity to recognize some of the volunteers that you may never see. And in my experience, when I think of volunteering, at one point I was a member of the PCC, which I'm sure a lot of us are, when the children were in elementary school. And you get a great idea, and you raise your hand and present it, and it's accepted, and then you own it, and then you have to run with it. And so it got to the point where it was just in a humorous way, it was said, well, you better sit on your hands tonight. You better sit on your hands tonight. So I think it's obvious that the people in this room did not sit on their hands, but they did step forward, come forward, and do what they could for their community. And on behalf of Rockland Trust, I'd like to offer everybody involved our congratulations, my congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'll give you a quick thumbnail sketch of who the Medfield Foundation is. This event is really focused on hearing from the volunteers and thanking the volunteers. But I'll give you a quick sketch as to the Medfield Foundation and the event itself. The Medfield Foundation started in 2001, and it was a very simple idea that there might be a willingness in the town of Medfield to raise private monies for public purposes. And since then, and also to allow the individual donors to designate the funds for a particular purpose. Since then, the foundation has raised over $1.5 million for the town. The biggest amount of money that was spent was for the Evergreen football field, which I guess is needing probably some rework, Eric, at this point, maybe. But it's been so long since the money was raised for that. But there are all sorts of things in town that use the Medfield Foundation to be able to exist. It's a 501c3 that anybody in town that's doing a project for things in town can make use of, and it's been very successful, I think, in terms of allowing entities to raise money for smaller things. There's the theater society at the high school now is using it to raise funds for their purposes, things of that sort. The volunteer recognition started in 2008, and it was a process. That year, we just basically chose someone and said, you're the volunteer of the year. The next year, we threw the doors open, and we said to the town, you tell us who we should recognize. And it was one of those funny sensations. You sit back and you wonder, well, is anybody going to come? Is anybody going to nominate? And I think there were 24 people that were nominated that first year. One of the big surprises was that half of them were high school kids. And so we very quickly changed the system and created a youth volunteer category that year. Then in 2011, we changed the way that this event works, and we started inviting the people who were the nominators and the nominees to talk to you. And that's when we discovered the magic of listening to what the volunteers and the people that nominate them have to say, and it just has been fascinating. In 2012, Rockland became our sponsor, and let's see. This year, we've had through the course of the 8 years we've been doing it, we've had over 195 people that have been involved to date in the process of either making a nomination or being nominated, so that there are a lot of people involved. We try to keep it simple, just tell us why the people are deserving of being recognized, and then we gather the information, and there's a panel of judges that then decides. This year, the judges were last year's Volunteer of the Year, John Thompson. Jim James from the Park Street Books was the business representative. Kathy Brennan represented the town in general. And then the Medfield Foundation board members. So, what we would like to do, starting at this point, is to invite the people who are going to get the special recognition, Mike and Caroline Standley, to all come forward. Binit, if you could come up, and Jeanne and who am I forgetting? Chris. If you could all come forward, and we want to have some dignitaries present you with some recognitions. And we would like you to sit here in these chairs. Maybe Binit, if you can sit in the first one, and then Chris in the next one. And we would then like to ask our state representatives, Sean Dooley and Denise Garlick, to come forward and make their presentations.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys so much for having me here. I apologize. I'm battling a bit of a cold, so I'm losing a little bit of my voice. But Representative, I guess we call you Chairwoman Garlick now. Chairwoman, she is now our Chairwoman of Elder Affairs, so for the House, so which was a great honor, and is very proud to share Medfield with Representative Garlick. This is so important to us from the standpoint of volunteerism is what makes a community, and Medfield has it in spades. You guys should be so proud of these people. I am so happy to be that we get to represent you. And we have such a great community, and there's so much heart and soul, and people give back to the community, give to each other to make sure that we all are a community. We're all happy, we're all healthy, we all can do whatever we can to make each other's lives a little bit better. And so I'm thrilled to be able to be here to take part today in honoring these people who have done so much, and to encourage other people who see these people to continue on with their legacy and do even more. So, Representative Garlick.
So I am so pleased to be here with you this afternoon. And because Representative Dooley has a cold, I think it's good he brought a nurse representative with him. I just wanted to thank you for the privilege of coming here. Medfield is an extraordinary town that Representative Dooley and I represent. We're very proud of it. The strength of Medfield is not only in your wonderful Board of Selectmen and your great town administrator, but in the many, many volunteers who give countless hours. You know, I always like to think that a town is not a geographic area that we see on a map. A town and a community of the people who live there. And today we'll see great examples. This is always one of my favorite events that Medfield does. And I just wanted to say, I know Representative Dooley and I are both trying in our own way to make a better world, just like everybody in this room. And when you make a better town, you make a better Commonwealth. And when we make a better Commonwealth, we make a better nation. So thank you all. And congratulations to these volunteers.
Thanks so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Sean. What Denise usually says is that these proclamations are actually part of the official record of the House of Representatives of Massachusetts, so that for all time, these are basically almost like statutes or something. Next we'll hear from Senator Timothy was going to come, but I don't think he's gotten here. Has he? He hasn't gotten here, so that we'll hear from our Medfield Selectman, Richard Sorga.
I just want to, first of all, thank the foundation and all the members for the amount of time they put into this, in particular Pete Peterson for his leadership on this. I use the term a lot, what makes Medfield, Medfield, and the thing that makes Medfield, Medfield more than anything else are the individuals in this town, and no one more exemplifies that than the individuals that are right here. And so it's my honor and my privilege to present on behalf of the town of Medfield and the Board of Selectmen a certificate to each of the members in recognition and appreciation of their contribution to the town of Medfield. So congratulations and thank you. Last but not least, congratulations. Thanks. Nice job.
Thank you so much. One of the wonderful things that happens when you start doing something like this is that some people join with you in very wonderful ways. And one of the things that happened as we went along doing this was that Ron Griffin stepped forward and procured flags that get flown over the Capitol in Washington. And Ron, if you could come and present the flags, please. Ron is our town's veteran service officer, and he regards recognizing these volunteers as part of his mission.
Well, hello, and calling Richard, and Richard was so brief tonight. I just wanted to share with you what I felt was the connection between veterans who serve our country and volunteers who serve our country. And if I go back to, according to Wikipedia, volunteer, that verb first appeared in 1755. It was derived from the noun volunteer as one who offers himself for military service. Through time, the word evolved and also to mean community service. While it's easy to distinguish between the responsibilities of each, they serve a similar objective and purpose to preserve and improve our community. Realizing this significance, President George H. Bush created the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. This medal recognizes those military members who perform substantial volunteer services in their local community. Now, while such a medal we can't bestow today, but I certainly can express my gratitude and appreciation for those who do volunteer, and that is my purpose today. So I would like to present each of you with a Medfield seal pin and American flags, which were flown over our nation's capital on February 21st, 2015. And the certificate on each will read, at the request of Honorable Joseph P. Kennedy III, Member of Congress, this flag was flown in recognition of your name for your selection as Medfield Foundation's Volunteer of the Year, with thanks and appreciation for all your volunteer services to the town of Medfield. Thank you.
Jeanne?
And then you see the selectman has a pin. So we hope you will wear this proudly as well. Oops, and my name tag is yours.
So Ron is giving all the award recipients a Medfield lapel pin that they can wear now too. Thank you so much, Ron. There are also commendations that have come to these people from Senators Elizabeth Warren and Senator Edward Markey and Congressman Joseph Kennedy, and we'll give you those later. Give you something to look forward to. So thank you all, and I'd like to invite you all to go back to your seats now. Thank you for coming. So now we'll start the what to me is the really fun part of things, where we'll hear from the people that are our volunteers that we're recognizing this year, and hear from the people that nominated them. And we'd like to start off first with Emily Zona, who was nominated by Eric Ornberg at the high school. Who was Eric and Emily? If you guys want to come up, Emily was.
All right. I'd like to congratulate all the award winners and nominees today. And I always feel a sense of conflict with award ceremonies like these. The challenge being a meager attempt at encapsulating all that a student does and the legacy they leave by simply reeling off the volume of activities they've participated in. In the case of Emily Zona, who she is as a person transcends all that she does and all those she inspires. Emily is honored this week, and what a week it's been. Back at the MHS Ranch, National Honor Society applications were due, progress reports went home, seniors are hearing from colleges, both good and bad news, scholarship applications were due, and the month of March could not be complete without course selection forms being handed in. At Medfield High School, it is judgment time. The essence of course selection time is the fact that teachers are in essence judging kids, which leads parents judging teachers, and then kids are left to judge all of us. All of this in an effort to be judged by the nameless, faceless college admissions counselor come senior year. It is a hectic time for all. So I stand here today in judgment of Emily Zona. I nominated Emily for this award because she is a paragon, rising above the madness and chaos of high school. Medfield students are often ruled by Murphy's Law and spend endless hours keeping up with the Joneses. Emily has dutifully kept both of the Murphys and the Joneses at arm's length. For 4 years as her guidance counselor, it made me wonder what makes her tick, what drives her, what is it about Emily that has her so committed to doing the little things so well. Is this kid a head, heart, or gut type of person? Emily is all heart, but she's got guts and she has a tremendous head on her shoulders, one that somehow maintains balance and perspective. Traits I am sure John and Valerie Zona instilled early on in their oldest child. Traits that I know Emily models every day for her younger sisters, Katie and Megan. Very simply put, Emily is accountable for her actions. She's true to her word, she's honest and authentic, she is selfless and kind. Emily's involvements outside of the classroom have ranged from teaching dance and Spanish to serving meals to the less fortunate on Christmas Day. Emily is innately altruistic. She hasn't embraced her community as much as she has grabbed hold of it like an artist grabs a handful of clay and molds it into something beautiful. If there's one single act I want to highlight about Emily, it's the time she called a relative to thank him for serving in our military. This simple act, done on Veterans Day, connected me to Emily. I have an uncle who served in the Korean War and won 2 Purple Hearts. He died last October, well before Veterans Day. For the 9 years I myself have been a father, I would call him every year on Veterans Day to thank him for his service and for defending our country. As an educator, it is a great moment when you find yourself making a parallel connection to one of your students. So, and I say this as a football coach and football fan, you can have Tom Brady, you can have all the crazy Kardashians, but when it comes to role models, I'll take kids like Emily Zona any day of the week and twice on Sunday. My boys are young, and I hope they grow up with the same moral center, selflessness, and care for community that Emily has modeled in the last 4 years I've known her. I wish her well during the remaining months of her senior year, and I wish her well in her future endeavors in college. Congratulations, Emily.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ornberg. I really appreciate that. Good afternoon. As Mr. Ornberg said, I'm Emily Zona, and I'm a senior at Medfield High School. I feel honored and blessed to have been nominated by my guidance counselor, Mr. Ornberg, for the Medfield Youth Volunteer Award. Mr. Ornberg, I cannot thank you enough for all of your support and encouragement throughout my 4 years at Medfield High School. Because you believed in me, I was able to grow as a person and expand my interests both inside and outside of the classroom. I cannot say how grateful I am to have you as my mentor. The students and faculty at Medfield High School fostered my passion for volunteer work and offered me many opportunities to bring my ideas to fruition. Through my elected leadership roles as Vice President of Student Council and National Honor Society, and as one of the presidents of Spanish Honor Society, I'm fortunate enough to help host school-wide events and fundraisers, as well as community service projects. Among the many volunteer and leadership opportunities I've been lucky enough to participate in, I would like to highlight a few of the most meaningful. Beginning in September, I have spearheaded and led monthly Spanish lessons for elementary school children alongside a few other volunteers at the Medfield Public Library. During each lesson, the kids learn new vocabulary and play creative and original games to interact with the Spanish language and Latin American culture. For example, in October, the kids learn numbers and days of the week as their vocabulary component, colored paper skulls while talking about the differences between Halloween and El Dia de los Muertos, and played a creative game to learn number vocabulary. All vocabulary and cultural references I summarize on paper so that the kids can take the worksheets home and hopefully encourage their parents to reinforce the content at home as well. But the lessons are not designed to be an addition to the school day, because I think that would be kind of boring at times. Rather, I hope to offer an opportunity for kids to have fun and be introduced to the Spanish language. Because of these lessons, many of the younger kids have chosen to study Spanish at school. I have a huge passion for Spanish, and I'm so grateful to be able to share my love of the language with younger students. This is a community service project that will be passed on to the Spanish Honor Society next year. I'd also like to mention lecturing at services at St. Edward's Parish, volunteering in the activities department at the Thomas Upham House, and peer tutoring middle school students for the past few years. It is also important to seize service opportunities beyond my immediate community, which I've done through my volunteer work with patients suffering from mental illness at Newton Wellesley Hospital, and by serving Christmas dinner to local residents at Our Lady of the Cape Parish in Brewster. Through these experiences and others alike, I recognize my roaring compassion for people and my desire to make a positive impact on others. I'm drawn to activities that allow me to interact with people in meaningful ways. Situations that encourage respect for human dignity are the kind I crave. Serving others is both contagious and addicting, as many of you here can understand. Volunteering has given me appreciation for the town of Medfield, the encouraging faculty at Medfield High School, and my loving family and friends. Although my time living in Medfield is coming to a close, I plan on pursuing service-related endeavors at Boston College next fall, where I will study psychology with a pre-medical track. Thank you.
Emily, do you accept this pin? That's appreciation for the time.
Thank you very much.
So Emily, we have some just some citations and some thank yous from the town, from all sorts of different people. But excellent job. I'm always so impressed by the high school kids and how they can speak in this town. It's just wonderful. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
The other person who was nominated this year for the Youth Volunteer of the Year award was Binit Shah. Binit and Erica Coate, teen librarian, if you could come up.
Fancy. Hi, my name's Erica Coate. I'm the teen librarian at Medfield Public Library. I started working as the teen librarian a few years ago, and I have to say that I love Medfield so much. Everybody welcomed me with open arms, even though I'm a crazy-haired, tattooed librarian, which I was very scared about, but you guys are all lovely. And all the teens that I work with, I am so amazed with all the teens and the children of Medfield and how hard they work and everything they're involved in. And it's volunteers like Binit that make my job super easy and make me look really good, so thanks. So today I'm here to support Binit. For the past 4 years, he has volunteered his time at the library as part of our teen advisory board. In the 2 years I've been here, he has been an integral part of planning and implementing programs for teens in Medfield. His creative ideas and leadership skills are a vital reason of why the Teen Advisory Board and teen programs are successful at the library. A couple of the things that we have done is an anti-study night to give kids a break from all the tests and midterms and finals. We have an after-hours party at the library just for the teens, and Binit's been a part of that and helping to create what we do and running the sound system because I have no idea what to do. And then about a year ago, Binit came to me with his proposal of running a free tech club at the library where we would teach any interested parties, but has turned out to be about elementary school age kids, the basics of programming. He thoughtfully planned and presented his ideas and classes to me. I was super impressed. More work than I would have put in. And so obviously I agreed to let him run the tech club at the library without any hesitation. In the past year, he has built the tech into an organization that holds its meetings at the Medfield Public Library and is open to the youth of Medfield as well as nearby towns with the hopes of expanding to other towns as well. Tech Club enables the younger generation to learn the basics of programs because it considers program to be as essential a skill as reading or writing. The Medfield Public Library and the community support Tech Club and has proven to be one of the most popular programs in our library. This support and enthusiasm is clearly shown in the recommendation letters of parents of the students in Tech Club, which we have some here today, as well as the consistent positive comments expressed to library staff by members of the community. I am so proud of Binit and all that he has accomplished and is continuing to do in expanding his vision and making Tech Club available in other communities. He has proven to be a valuable asset to the Medfield Public Library and the community. And it's people like you and all the other teens in Medfield that I feel like you're all my children, and I'm so proud. And go forth to the world and do good things.
Hello, everyone. My name is Binit Shah, obviously. I'm a junior at Medfield High School, and I'm the founder of Tech Club, as Erica said. Before I start, I'd like to say a couple thank yous to people without which I would not be here today. First off, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Peterson and the MFI. Without events like this, first of all, I wouldn't be here. None of us volunteers would be here, so thank you very, very much. I'd like to say thank you to Miss Aditi Tate. Although she's not here today, she's the director of the Medfield.tv, and she's the one who got me started on this road of volunteerism. I'd like to say thank you to my nominator, of course, Miss Erica Coate. She downplays her part, but she helped me so much throughout the process of implementing and planning and all that with Tech Club. So it was very, very helpful. And I'd like to say thank you, last but not least, to my parents, because the support you've provided me throughout the years is what's led me to complete what I have. So thank you. So I'd like to say a few words about what Tech Club is, why I started it, and what motivates me, what drives me. Tech Club is a non-profit, self-initiated project that I started about a year ago. And every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., I have 15 to 20 kids come by. And we talk about the fundamentals of programming. So what does that entail? I'll teach them about logical thinking, analytical, being, problem solving. And of course, along with that will be programming skills to be able to create the applications. So after about 8 weeks or so, these kids who have come into the Tech Club with about zero programming prior knowledge, they'll have walked out with everything they need to be able to create a full-fledged application or game. And in most cases, it's game. So, for example, they'll create these great applications like Doodle Jump or like spoofs of, like Flappy Birds, that really famous game that came out. It's honestly astounding what they do. It's really, they pick up so quickly. And I think it was, so in the book, The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, I think I'm saying that right. He says that to be truly good at something, you have to put in 100,000 hours. That's roughly 10 years, okay? So after 10 years, regardless of whatever activity it is, you will be the best in your field at that, top 5%, top 10%. And he cites the success of Bill Gates as an example. He says that the reason that Bill Gates was so successful is because he had access to one of the first IBM computers at his local college. Every day from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. He would go there and he'd learn how to program. And he got his extra early start. So similarly, these kids who come to Tech Club, I'm amazed by how they're started. And by the time they're 18 or 17, they'll have their 100,000 hours in, right? So I look forward to continuing my helping them and getting them to where they need to be. And I'm very excited to see what they'll accomplish because the applications I'm making right now are amazing, so they only get better. But I also receive out of Tech Club just as much as I put into it. The reason I started Tech Club was because as a young child, my dad would show me all these cool things I could do on Windows 98, if you guys remember that. And you'd be able to do all these great things, and I was really excited about it. And then I would get inspired and motivated, and then the frustration and as the hard work and the errors from the programs came in, so then my inspiration would plummet, and it'd be a cycle back and forth. So I realized that I needed some way to stay consistent, keep up with it. So my solution was to put a deadline in place to create Tech Club, and I eventually realized that. I want to invest in more time in this and make it better, and in that way it's helped me more. There's also one more reason I've started Tech Club, and the main reason is because I believe that education should not be limited. I believe that it should be open to anyone who wants it. For example, people in third world countries, regardless of your race, your caste, your gender, all that, you should be allowed to get the education you need to self-improve. And so right now, anything that I do in Tech Club, I'm also putting up to a website so that if they want to mimic, if someone, say, in India, because that's where I'm trying to get another one started, wanted to mimic a Tech Club that we have here, they would have all the materials they need, and they would be able to start their own Tech Club. And so that's one of my goals in life. Right now, Medfield is very local. My Tech Club is very local, but it's to grow it. So hopefully it will, and continue to look out for it. And yeah, but I'd also like to thank the MFI because once more, I've already done it once more because it's events like these that really motivate us and encourage us to continue our work because we realize that other people recognize what we're doing and appreciate it. And for me personally, I believe that this makes me want to go even higher, to achieve more and spread Tech Club to more people who would like it. Once again, thank you to MFI and thank you to everyone.
We have a package of different awards for you here from the Congress people and the town people and the Medfield Foundation. Congratulations. One of the nice synergies about doing an event like this is that, as I say, things get added on. Ron started giving the flags. Last year, Binit was working the camera for the Medfield TV, and he liked it, and so he apparently got involved. So congratulations, and thank you. So one of the things that the sponsorship from the Rockland Trust Charitable Foundation allows the Medfield Foundation to do is to have $100 donated from each of the award winners to the charity of their choice. And Binit is directing his $100 towards the Medfield Coalition for Public Education, and they'll receive it in Binit's name. And the flowers that Binit got this year are courtesy of the Brothers Marketplace in town. I see that Senator Timberley's here. Jim, do you want to come up and make your presentations now?
We had them all come up individually. So why don't you go ahead and we'll just we can hear you quickly.
Sorry for the confusion, and forgive me for being a little bit late. I'm coming from 4 Eagle Scouts in Foxborough. Actually had their ceremony in North Attleboro, and Mass Department of Transportation got me again because there was construction on 95 North before 495. But I just wanted to thank Pete and the foundation for the invitation, and certainly say to all the winners, Binit, I got to hear your speech. Fantastic. You have a great presence. But to all the award winners, just congratulations. This is a wonderful community. Foundation does some fantastic work, and it does it because of the volunteers and the people like you who are shining members of the community. It's nice to see you recognized today. Again, sorry I'm late, and thanks very much.
We'll just ad-lib a little. They'll get their commendations from the State Senate at the end of the ceremony then. Let's see, now we're into the Adult Volunteer of the Year category, and our first person that we want to recognize and honor is Susan Maritan, who was nominated Diane Smith.
Good afternoon. I'm Diane. Susan. I'm so pleased to be here to tell you about one of today's honorees, my good friend Susan Maritan. And thank you, Medfield Foundation, for establishing a program that honors great volunteers in a public forum with this wonderful ceremony. We are blessed to live in a community that has a thriving network of people who want to help, and they take that job seriously. In Medfield, achievement in volunteerism is high, as we've heard. And this recognition from MFi really speaks volumes. Cheers to all of today's honorees. You are well deserving and such an inspiration. But let me tell you a little bit about Susan. She is the first one to compliment others and share credit. When you hear from her shortly, Susan will gracefully and modestly move the spotlight away from herself and instead cast a light on the organizations and the people that she assists. When I approached her to consider joining the Medfield Coalition Board 3 years ago, I had no idea that she was already a very active volunteer in town. She's very stealth in her volunteering. At that time, Susan was already a member of the Food Cupboard Board, a garden club volunteer, and the primary publicity coordinator for New Life Home Refurnishing. New Life is another volunteer-run organization in Medfield, founded just 2 years ago, and it has already done so much to help people in need. New Life helps families that are transitioning out of homelessness into their own housing with obtaining furniture and other necessities of making a home. Add to this list the Angel Run Corporate Sponsorship Program campaign and the Wheelock Victory Garden, which also benefited from Susan's volunteer efforts. And in true Medfield style, alongside her volunteer work, Susan is the mother of 3 very busy teenagers with a husband in corporate business who travels a lot. So that's Susan. I lured her to MCPE with the promise of work that was real portfolio building stuff. Meaningful assignments that challenged the mind could be hers at MCPE. Luckily, she took the bait. But the coalition has never been in better hands. Susan really hit the ground running. The old publicity landscape was, an article in the Medfield Press and a Thursday packet flyer. You're kind of good, your campaign is all set. These days, a good publicist must manage Facebook posts, Twitter messages, principals' blogs, news flashes, newsletter writing, patch posts, press releases, and constant contact emails. No small task. Susan came to MCPE in 2013 and took all of this responsibility in stride. It was like a seamless transition. She effortlessly coordinates with the design and corporate sponsor teams to include the right logos and company names in articles, posters, and advertisements. Getting quotes and placing stories in the many news vehicles of today's world seemed to come naturally to her. And Susan is also a great photographer. And she brought those skills to her publicity efforts with aplomb. Like, who knew she was running her own PR agency from her house on Newport Lane? So Susan offers her writing, photography, and PR skills to our local nonprofit organizations without fanfare or complaint. She is truly selfless when it comes to giving of her time. The coalition and the many other organizations in our community that she touches with her talent and generosity are so lucky to have her. Please join me in congratulating Susan Maritan.
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate your kind comments. Good afternoon. I'm touched to see so many friends and, Good afternoon. I'm touched to see so many people and friends from the Medfield community here today to honor Medfield's volunteers and its many wonderful organizations. One of Medfield's greatest attributes is its community members and the kindness and generosity they continually put forth. It is a sincere honor to speak on behalf of such a giving community. I would like to begin by thanking both the Medfield Foundation for holding this volunteer award ceremony and Diane Smith for nominating me. I am honored and humbled by her nomination. Congratulations to all the other nominees and award winners on their well-deserved recognition. I've been given only a few minutes to speak to you today. Truly, it is not nearly enough time to describe both the outstanding organizations for which I volunteer and the terrific men and women with whom I work. Nevertheless, I hope I am able to highlight some of the profound acts of beauty and generosity I've encountered over the years. I first began my work as a volunteer with the Medfield Food Cupboard. The Food Cupboard currently serves 123 people, 43 of whom are children. There are 60 regular volunteers, each of whom has a specific job or responsibility. Although I've experienced many poignant moments while volunteering with the Food Cupboard, what happened this past year was so breathtaking I tend to choke up when I talk about it. Please bear with me if I do it again. This past September, the Food Cupboard experienced a significant food shortage. The shelves were bare and the number of clients in need was at an all-time high, and it still is. Food Cupboard volunteers put out a plea through the local newspapers, schools, and churches. We shared the urgency of our need and crossed our fingers, nervously wondering what we'd do if no one responded. But we should have known better. This is Medfield we're talking about, and the community turned out. The response to our request for food was immediate and awe-inspiring. Within days, there were food drives at the schools and in the grocery store parking lots. There were neighborhood, holiday, and birthday party collections all over town. The bins at the churches, the FAF Center, and the library were filled to capacity. Checks poured in from individual donors, and local businesses came to our aid as well. Many pallets of food were donated to us by generous Shah's shoppers. In fact, there was so much food we had to temporarily store some of it in a volunteer's warehouse. This outpouring of generosity was overwhelming and inspiring. We were deeply touched to see our entire community rally around the mission of the Food Cupboard and its families. In addition to serving on the Medfield Food Cupboard, I also have the great joy of volunteering with the Medfield Garden Club. It is an absolute pleasure to be with this wonderful organization and help tend one of the 21 green spaces around Medfield for which the Garden Club is responsible. It's a personal privilege for me to work with and learn from these generous and knowledgeable gardeners, and know that together we are sharing our passion for gardening with the community that we love. Excuse me. I also have had the opportunity to share my interest in gardening at the Wheelock Victory Garden while working alongside lifetime master gardener Sonia Johansson. Under Sonia's mentorship, I have deepened my knowledge of vegetable and flower gardening in a beautiful and pleasant setting. The opportunity to share this knowledge with eager second and third graders who are so naturally curious and enthusiastic is truly rewarding. Helping tiny seeds blossom into full-grown plants is a wonderful and relaxing activity for me, and one I enjoy sharing with my community. Speaking of community, the Medfield Foundation's Angel Run gets the attention of the Medfield community like nothing else. This year, 1,400 people participated in this fun run, the proceeds of which directly support Medfield families during their most vulnerable times. For the last 2 years, I managed the corporate sponsorship program. I cannot describe how heartwarming it feels when Medfield residents and businesses seek me out, asking to be a sponsor because of their desire to help those in need. This past year alone, over 30 businesses donated to this important fundraiser. Another organization I have enjoyed supporting for the past 2 years is the Medfield Coalition for Public Education. Binit, thank you for the $100. Serving on the MCPE board opened my eyes to some of the amazing work that goes on behind the scenes at our public schools. As a volunteer for the coalition, I've had the wonderful opportunity to witness their true dedication of Medfield teachers, guidance counselors, principals, and parents. They devote so much to our Medfield students. Each year, MCPE works to raise approximately $100,000, and without fail, our community helps us reach this awesome goal. The donations fund the wonderful grants that empower our teachers and staff members to enrich our children's education. As the publicist for MCPE, I have been in the unique position of sharing news of this good work with the Medfield community. The final volunteer opportunity I would like to share with you today is my work with New Life Home Refurnishing. New Life HR is a nonprofit organization that collects gently used furniture and household items and makes them available to families in need. In just over a year of operation, New Life served 115 families from 35 different towns across Massachusetts. That's 244 people whose lives were impacted by donors' generosity. In this role, I am also responsible for written communications to the public. To give you a sense of the incredible work that New Life does, I'd like to share an experience I had a few months ago when I was asked to help them with a client who was choosing furnishings from the New Life warehouse for her new apartment. I immediately said yes, but I wasn't sure what to expect. My initial role was to record and inventory the items that she chose, so I decided I would watch quietly as I learned the process. She was a lovely young woman with helpful and strong family members who were there to help her pack and transport her new furnishings. She chose a bed for herself and her son, an armchair, a couch, a kitchen table, and some bookshelves. How bittersweet it was to watch this shopping trip of hers. How sad to know that somehow she had fallen into homelessness, and at the same time, it was profoundly inspirational to see her rebuilding her life with her son. It was very special for me to be able to witness this pivotal time in their lives. When it came time for choosing bedding and kitchen items, I went back to the shelves with her. The joy she found in a set of china with matching bowls and luncheon plates was humbling. The thrill she took in choosing a chip and dip dish made my throat tighten, and the disbelief that she demonstrated at being able to have a coffee pot of her own brought tears to my eyes. It brought me back to the time when I was choosing these items for my first home, and I was privileged to share her joy. What a wonderful service New Life HR provides to people who have fallen on hard times. And thank goodness for the wonderful and generous people who donate their gently used household items to New Life. Truly, they have no idea how much joy and promise their gifts bring people emerging from homelessness. As I reflect on these volunteer experiences with you today, I am struck by one final thought. Medfield is a community that truly cares. Our community members are more than willing to give, whether it's of their time, their talent, or their treasure. Day in and day out, Medfield citizens come to the aid of others who need a little extra support. This unconditional generosity and strength of spirit is what inspires me to give back and what makes our town a wonderful community in which to live. Thank you.
Susan, can I give you some things before you go away? Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
One of the things that Susan didn't mention was that when she worked for the Medfield Foundation Angel Run, that she was hugely successful in the corporate sponsorship and generated huge amounts of extra money that goes to families in need in town. So thank you for that, Susan. Next, we'll hear from Rose O'Reilly, who was nominated by Marion Lent, and I apologize for my error on the program.
It's an honor for me to recognize Rose O'Reilly. Over the past 10 years, Rose has contributed her time and talents to benefit the students at Medfield High School. I feel very fortunate that my son, who graduated a few years ago, was able to be part of the class that Rose was supporting. And not only has she created these programs, but she's also served to just continue the programs year after year. She created and orchestrated multiple projects and managed hundreds of parents, volunteers, and students, which I'm just in awe of. She made it all look so easy, and whenever I think of Rose, I think of a positive approach and a smile at all times. And if I was dealing with lots of girls trying on prom dresses, I wouldn't be smiling as much as Rose smiled. So just a few highlights from Rose's accomplishments. She was elected president of the Coalition for Public Education. She's also served on the board for 6 years. Rose single-handedly revived the Medfield High School fashion show. It went from a participation of 30% to a participation of over 70%. And over the past 6 years, she's raised over $120,000 for the all-night graduation party, which is just incredible to me. In the past, students from Medfield High School rented limos, and now they're stretch limos and Hummer limos. It keeps getting higher and higher. Pretty soon it'll be jets. But what Rose has done is she brought everybody back to a foundation of. She decided to get involved with luxury motor coaches and have those show up at the high school. So what turned into lots of backyard parties with cocktails and parents and kids dressed up, we all ended up at the high school parking lot. Was a place that I used to hang around with a lot in high school myself, as high school parking lots. But anyway, she brought us all back to the high school, all the parents and the kids, and she came up with the idea of having these luxury buses take the students to the prom. This did so many things, including providing safe transportation. It brought the classes together, and it really was incredible. And that's going to be continued year after year because of Rose. In addition to not only the money that she's raised, Rose was just had the snack shack at the high school named in her honor because she's raised so much money for the snack shack over the years. So whenever you visit the snack shack, think of Rose. So over the years, not only did she manage all the volunteers, but she also doubled the revenue of the snack shack, which then went back into the Medfield athletics. So I'm very honored to be here, and I have to tell you that she's not only improved the lives of so many students in Medfield, she's established a framework of cooperation that's going to last for many years. Congratulations, Rose.
I was asked to be brief today, and I assure you that I will. I'm not that comfortable in this position. I'm more of a behind-the-scenes type of a person. But I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation for the recognition and congratulate all the other recipients here today. I'd also like to thank my good friend Marion Lent for taking the time to nominate me. You are kind beyond words. I am deeply honored and moved to receive this recognition, and I accept it on behalf of the small army of parents who have helped me along the way. I have had the privilege of working with some amazing people. The work wasn't always pretty, and we faced obstacles along the way, but somehow things always worked out. We worked for the children of Medfield. I'd like to thank my husband for providing so well for our family, which allowed me to be able to get so involved in the schools. I hope my sons will forgive me someday for being so involved in what they were involved in. I know it wasn't easy for them when I was on a first-name basis with the principal of their high school, or when I shopped for tuxes for the senior prom fashion show with their friends, or having me be selling concessions at every home football game, although I don't think they minded the complimentary hot dogs. I believe that someday they will understand that they were my motivation, and they will understand the satisfaction I got from volunteering in their schools. I've never considered myself a leader, and it has never been my intention to be one. I've always considered myself more of a worker bee. However, I am a person who wanted to see things get done, and so I owned it. In closing, I would encourage all parents to volunteer with your children's schools, sports, or clubs in some capacity, big or small. You will meet some amazing people that you may never have had the opportunity to meet otherwise. The biggest reward I have received from my years of volunteer work are the many people I can now call friend, and all the wonderful memories of working to make Medfield a great place to go to school and a great place to raise a family. Thank you.
A worker bee who gets tons done. Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Next is Chris McCue Potts, who was nominated by Maria Baylor. If you could both come up, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Baylor, and I'm the Vice President of the Medfield Music Association, affectionately known as the MMA. The MMA is a group of music parents and supporters of the Medfield Public Schools music program. So on behalf of the board of the MMA, I'd like to thank the Medfield Foundation for recognizing Chris McCue Potts as Medfield's Volunteer of the Year. Chris has served as president of the MMA for the past 4 years. I nominated Chris on behalf of our entire board for her work as a supporter of the arts in Medfield, and in particular for her work in support of the music programs in our public schools. As a board, we're all aware of Chris's many talents, but it's appropriate that she be publicly acknowledged and thanked for all that she does. Chris's volunteer history, apart from the MMA, is long and impressive. Over the past 15 years, Chris has served on the board of the Medfield After School Program, the Bay Colony Rail Trail, and the Zulu Gallery. She's also served on the steering committee of Medfield Cares About Prevention, and is part of the group working on cultural planning for the Medfield State Hospital property. But it is Chris's work as president of the MMA which I want to highlight for you today. Chris brought her experience in nonprofit fundraising and public relations, along with her boundless energy and her unmatched passion for Medfield's music program, to the MMA. And what that has done is allowed the MMA to provide unprecedented support to the music program, and most importantly, to provide tremendous benefits to the students who participate in that program at all grade levels. I want to give you some examples of the things the MMA has been able to do because of Chris's leadership. We've been able to fund things like professional musicians who come to Medfield to work with our students, perform for them and inspire them. The Moxie Strings, who performed this past week, was just one example of that. We've been able to fund continuing education opportunities for our music teachers that they wouldn't otherwise be able to have. We've been able to fund transportation of instruments which seems obscure, but the Dale Street School has a marimba band that uses drums that are taller than the children who play them. And they need a U-Haul to move their instruments wherever they want to perform. So that's one example. We've also paid for excess baggage fees for instruments to travel to China a couple of years ago. So from near and far, our instruments get around. We've also implemented a program where our music teachers give the MMA annual wish lists of items that the school budget does not cover for them, but that they think would help them teach and inspire their students. And for the most part, we're able to fund most of the items on those lists. We also provide financial aid to students who are unable to afford to pay their own way on the numerous trips that our music groups go on lately. And this makes sure that no student is going to be left behind because they can't afford to pay for their own travel expenses and lose out on those experiences, those team-building experiences and those life-changing experiences that those music trips provide. Lastly, the MMA is now able to provide an annual scholarship that allows a Medfield student with special needs to participate in music lessons, music therapy, or other types of music programs. Before Chris came along, the MMA was often perceived as an organization that was focused only on the high school's music program, although that was never the intention. But under Chris's leadership, we've been able to broaden our board, our members, and the volunteers that work with us to include families in all ensembles, band, chorus, and orchestra, and across all grade levels. This has allowed the MMA to have more insight into the programs in all of the different schools in Medfield, to provide financial and volunteer support as needed to benefit all of those students. Chris has also broadened the MMA's relationship with the Medfield community. Through her efforts, our students have more opportunities to share their talents with the community. You might have seen us doing Jazz Around Town, fundraising for the jazz band. She's also reached out to local businesses who have welcomed the opportunity to provide sponsorships for some of our larger events like Spaghetti with Santa and Jazz Night. And corporate sponsorships allow the MMA to use the money that it raises directly to support Medfield's music programs without having to use it on the expenses of those events. I believe Chris is a shining example of what a volunteer should be. She found an organization that she was passionate about and that she could help with her particular talents, and she got involved. Anyone in Medfield who feels strongly about the importance of music and the arts in our lives and the importance of music education in our schools should applaud Chris for all that she does. Thank you, Chris, for all you do for the MMA and for Medfield.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you to the foundation for this honor. I think my feelings reflect, I think a lot of people that are here being honored today, is that none of us really do this for the recognition. We do because we care about the issues that are important to us. And so I'm actually very uncomfortable up here because I am part of an organization that depends on the efforts and the passions of numerous volunteers like Maria, like everybody sitting at this table, like folks sitting at other tables here. I mean, I look around the room and I see so many people here who have been involved in the Medfield Music Association, and we just can't, one person can't run the show. We need all these hands to do it. We are a year-round organization that we do so much, and so it's not really, I don't feel comfortable accepting this award on behalf of me. It's really an award on behalf of everyone that helps with this organization. I also feel very responsible that the MMA, we work with hundreds of volunteers every year, and I think we're probably one of the oldest parent-run groups in town. I think it's probably 30 years at least. My file is probably a lot thinner than the one that Richard has access to. But we've been around for a very, very long time. And it goes beyond our schools. The music program certainly engages our children, but we have become a fabric of the community. And we take that responsibility very seriously. I mean, I like to compare places like the music, things like the music program and the Zulu Gallery to an historic home here in Medfield that we treasure and that we need to protect. Because it doesn't take that much sometimes for these things to get knocked down or to fall apart. And many years ago in the late 80s, the music program actually was in really bad shape. And we had a marching band that only had 18 students in it. And so all of us that are involved with this organization, and me included, we really take that responsibility seriously. We feel like we're a steward of a very important program that not only does so much for our children, but does so much for the community of Medfield, whether it's the Memorial Day Parade or whether it's doing taps at the cemetery, whether it's just teaching children how to appreciate the arts. It's so much, we feel it's a fabric of the community, and that's really important to us, and we take that responsibility seriously. And it's really not about the music awards. I mean, our program has achieved, under Doug Olson's direction, incredible awards over the years. And we are all very, very proud about that. But I think the thing that we're all most proud of, and the thing that, the passion that we hold about this program, is the impact on our children. It's not just music, it's arts as a whole. And we see day in and day out from the youngest children what art and music can do for them personally. And that, for me, and me personally, is what makes me want to keep going, because I see these children in 4th and 5th grade holding that violin or playing that saxophone for the first time. And it brings tears to my eyes. I can't go to a concert and say anything without breaking into tears, and Andy Costello knows, because she's been doing this for 20 years, it's so important to see the joy that the music program brings to our children. And I think one of the things that what I've realized too is that music and art in particular, it comes from deep within. And for me, it was from my mom. My mom was an artist. She was doing art until the day she died a couple years ago at 91 years old. It comes from my husband, who plays music, whose mother took out a loan to buy him a guitar when he was in high school. We have been surrounded by art growing up. I'm not musical, but I love art. And so, you have that in your fabric of your community, your fabric of your home, and it's something, if you love it, you share it as much as you can with everybody that you know. I will say that one of the things that really struck me this past year was reaching out to all of our alumni and asking them what they felt about the music program. And I was really emotionally struck by the things that our students said about the program. And I just want to read in terms of some of the 3 things that really came out of what the impact of our program is on our students themselves. The 3 themes: acceptance, community, and stress relief. I'm going to just read one of the quotes from one of the students that filled out the survey. "The music program helped in every aspect of my life and changed the way I think. Especially at such a turbulent time in a kid's life, having a group to go where you didn't need to be the most popular to engage with them really helped me. In addition, having band in the middle of my other classes was an amazing opportunity for some midday stress relief. We have heard time and time again that our kids would have been lost without the music program. And this is why all of us in the MMA, all of my colleagues, the parents over the last 30 years really feel passionate about this program and want it to continue to be a fabric of our community here in Medfield. So on behalf of everyone from the MMA and the Zulu Gallery for celebrating the arts, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Chris. And thanks to Rockland Trust's generosity, Chris's $100 is going to get split between the Medfield Music Association, of course, and the Zulu Gallery. And again, the flowers are from Brothers Marketplace. This year, we're giving Lifetime Achievement Awards. That was one of the other things that came about, and I don't know whether that was your idea, Chris, that we do. I think it probably was your idea that we do Lifetime Achievement Awards. Chris and I worked together on the Volunteer Awards several years ago, and I'm actually still using a script, Chris, that is in the font that you created it in. But I think it was the year that you were there that we started honoring people for lifetime achievement. What we recognized was that there were people that had done decades of service to the town, and this year it is incredible numbers of decades of service to the town. I mean, if you added up these three people's service to the town, it would be 150 years or something. So that, and we'll start with Mike and Caroline Standley, who were nominated by Richard DeSorga. Mike and Caroline. Are you going to come up? And we're honored because Mike and Caroline's son, Dabney, is here from California with his daughter. And granddaughter. Skylar is here from California as well.
While the Stanleys are coming up, let me just follow up a second with a comment that Ron Griffin made earlier about my briefness in speaking. Kathleen Brennan had requested that I talk no more than 5 minutes. I have trouble saying my name in 5 minutes. But I want to prove to Ron that I can indeed talk in my allotted time, and I will hold him, he can hold me to that request, although the two individuals I'm about to introduce, this would be extremely difficult, considering the almost countless ways that they have so positively impacted the town of Medfield. Caroline Standley grew up in Kentucky. Burgess, known to everyone as Mike, in Beverly Farms, Massachusetts. Mike served his country in the U.S. Army during the Korean War. He was in the same troop as Medfield's former police chief, Bill Meehan. And it was from Bill Meehan that Mike heard about the beautiful and magical place called Medfield, Massachusetts. Now, after their marriage, Mike and Caroline moved to a rented house on Remsen Avenue. In 1954, Mike and Caroline moved from that rented house into the caretaker's cottage that they purchased from the breakup of the former McElwain estate on 75 Elm Street. Now, the barn on the grounds of nearby Holiday Farm had been moved to the rear of that caretaker's cottage and was now part of the Stanleys' 40-acre property at 75 Elm Street. Here the Stanleys settled, they raised the family, and became two of the most respected people I know in the town of Medfield. Clearly no one, and I mean no one, fits Thomas Jefferson's definition of the active citizen more than Caroline and Mike Standley. For 61 years, the Stanleys have given their heart and soul to the town of Medfield. Between the two of them, they have served on the Library Board of Trustees, the Planning Board, the Historical Commission, the Historical Society, the Historical District Commission, the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Medfield State Hospital Reuse Committee, the Medfield State Hospital Preservation Committee, the Town Hall Renovation Committee, the Conservation Commission, the Open Space Planning Committee, the Long Range Planning Committee, the Committee to Evaluate Senior Tax Write-Off Program, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. They have been the driving force, and I mean the driving force, behind every single piece of open space that has been purchased by the town of Medfield. And of special interest were their efforts for the town obtaining all the Noon Hill property, which has been an invaluable treasure of over 400 acres of conservation land, forests, and trails, now under the town and trustee control. Their efforts in saving the Charles River floodplain and having it turned over to the Army Corps of Engineers has also turned out to be an invaluable treasure for the town of Medfield and an ecological bonus and flood protection for the city of Boston and all the towns downriver from Medfield. The Army Corps' purchase included all the land along the Charles River that passes through Medfield. They were the behind-the-scenes driving force in supporting the purchases of the Wallingford property, the HomeQuest property, the Cronin property, the Redgate Farm property, on and on and on. Their legacy will be felt for generations to come. Both of them, particularly Caroline, has been a leading force in supporting and in fundraising efforts behind charities more numerous to list and they cover every aspect of civic preservation and historic value. And in particular, Caroline has been an active supporter and voice with the trustees of the reservation. They have been vocal participants at every town meeting since 1954 and have been in the forefront of trying to save Medfield's historical character, including the purchase of the Dwight Derby House. Mike was the first chairman of the Dwight Derby Committee, Inc. Both were instrumental in having the town save our oldest house and what we believe to be probably the 20th oldest house in the entire United States. No one couple has contributed to the preservation of Medfield's history more than have the Standleys. They were the driving force behind the establishment of the historic districts in town, which we now have 4 of, which preserve the history and the character of those areas for all time. They were the driving force behind the adoption of the demolition delay bylaw, and then the increase of that bylaw from 12 to 18 months. That bylaw was an attempt to save the town's history and character from the destruction of the bulldozer. Clearly, after the schools, I believe, the draw to Medfield is its character, its historic houses, and its open space. We have lost much of that, but through the efforts of Mike and Caroline, we have also saved much, and it's a struggle. Currently, 2 18th century homes in the downtown area are being temporarily saved only because of the demolition delay bylaw. But sadly, in both cases, the developer is just waiting it out, waiting to demolish another piece of our history and our town's character. And they are the Ord House, formerly owned by the Kinsmans, by the post office at Mitchell and North Street, and then the Wheelock House on South Street, right next to Brothers Marketplace parking lot. It is hoped that the delayed time the Standley so pushed will give the Historical Commission time to persuade the developers to change that course. As active members of the Historical Society, the Standleys have opened up their beautiful home for socials, fundraisers, and programs. And I want to make note of one special occasion when they hosted the donors of the Richard C. Derby donation. Now, Medfield's Richard C. Derby was killed in the Battle of Antietam during the Civil War, and a collector, finding Derby's pistol, diary, and other written materials, brought it up here to Medfield from North Carolina and presented it to the Historical Society. The Standleys opened up their home for a spectacular thank you dinner for the donors and Medfield history buffs. 5 years after moving into their caretaker's cottage and with a growing family, they secured an architect from Boston's Royal Barry Wills Associates to enlarge and preserve that caretaker's cottage. The result was the addition of 2 bookend sections on each side of that 1910 caretaker's cottage. Get this, Mike and Caroline personally hand-planted 1,000 trees on the property, 500 red pines, 500 spruces. Today, almost 61 years later, those trees provide an ecological forest that abuts our town water supply and our town wells. The barn has been preserved and converted into a guest house, garage, and loft office space. They have placed their property in a conservation trust so the land around our water wells will stay in that natural state, an ecological gain for the residents of Medfield. Through their care, and with Caroline personally mowing all the lawns and the extensive grasslands, she does herself, that once rustic caretaker's cottage is now transformed into a beautiful home on a breathtaking setting, Medfield's own Monticello, cared for by a couple who have had a positive impact on the town in so many ways, an impact that has made our town a better place in which to live, and an impact that will benefit future generations of Medfield residents. As a lifelong resident myself of Medfield, I know of no other couple who together have done so much for the town of Medfield, and they do so without fanfare, without publicity. In each of those 13 town boards and commissions that they served on that I mentioned, not to mention the many private and nonprofit boards, they have contributed in an extraordinary way that have impacted this town. They did not just serve on these boards, they led them. They are a class act in every sense of the word. Medfield would not be Medfield today without the Standleys. It is my extreme honor and privilege to introduce Medfield's first couple, Mike and Caroline Standley.
So often, I think I'm often the one who speaks, but I'm going to be very short today. I remember really quite well the day 61 years ago that we drove in a two-seater open car from Fort Knox, Kentucky to Medfield, Massachusetts, because that was where Mike's father had looked around to try to find a house for us, and of course Mike knew from his army about being here as well in the town. And so ever since, really open space and historic houses, and saving the houses that Medfield had quite a few of, fortunately, and also open space so that it would not be filled with too many houses was one of our major pushes. And so again, as I say, with the 40 acres that we originally bought, 25 were sold to the school. And so the soccer fields, the very end of the soccer fields, is abutting our land. So anytime anybody wants to come and explore, you can come and see those pine trees that we planted. They're now, 20 feet more or 60 feet high. And you're welcome to come and walk. And I do mow down there. And I mow our backyard. And I'll be 85 this summer. So but you can always come and rake. Anyway, thank you, Richard, as always, and to the Medfield Foundation. And it's wonderful to see everybody here, and thank you all so much. And Mike joins me, and he's the one, of course, who's done all this.
So what do you think, Ron? 5 minutes or... I wasn't quite sure that was 5 minutes, but... thanks to the generosity of Rockland Trust, the Stanleys are giving $100 to the Friends of the Dwight Derby House, Inc. Richard, Friends of the Dwight Derby House, Inc. I just need to correct Richard on that because I know that he writes the history of the town, and he's going to get Dwight Derby House, Inc. in there instead of the Friends of the Dwight Derby House, Inc. And I happen to know because I incorporated it. So we next are going to recognize Jeanne Bastanier Sullivan, who was nominated by Carol Bergenheim. Lifetime Achievement Award. Come forward, ladies, please.
Okay. Jeanne Sullivan is a dear friend of mine. We met when our girls were in the 4th grade. Ever since I have known Jeanne, she has been working tirelessly on one project or another to benefit some organization in town. Her dining room table is usually covered with one project or another, if not her entire barn consumed by all-night graduation. She is often working on several plans concurrently, all while being a member on several committees. And if that is not enough, she is always the first to show up with a dinner for someone in need. She seemingly never runs out of energy. Jeanne has been a leader in this town for many years. Her efforts have been endless, as evidenced by her long, long volunteer resume. We are fortunate to have among us such a devoted townsperson. Her legacy as the chair of the all-night graduation decorations lives on as she imagined and planned the most amazing themes and decorations with an army of volunteers under her direction for 9 years. Parents and relatives of graduating seniors started taking tours of the event because the themes were so elaborate. Who could ever forget the Wizard of Oz year or New York, New York? It is Jeanne's work at the Medfield Food Cupboard for the last 15 years that is one of her most important contributions, in my opinion. The food cupboard positively impacts the lives of fellow citizens down on their luck. As co-chair of distribution and the face of the food cupboard, she greets each client as they pass through the doorways that are most difficult to walk through. Adding a personal touch is one of the many cupboard responsibilities that she fulfills. Her work in the schools ran deep. Chairperson of this, co-chair of that, superintendent's advisory committee, and on and on. She left her mark on the Medfield Coalition for Public Education as a former president. She fundraised for the new animal shelter building. Even many of Jeanne's church-related responsibilities, of which the list is very long, result in financial donations to the town community services. The reach of Jeanne's charities is almost too large to comprehend. Her contributions and goodwill to this town are innumerable, and we are most indebted to her enthusiasm. And I can personally attest that she has taken down many of us suckers with her on the volunteering road. All kidding aside, Jeanne has devoted her time selflessly her whole life, and may I add, is still going strong. Kudos to the Medfield Foundation for sponsoring such a noteworthy program that acknowledges our fellow citizens for above and beyond the call of duty. It is my pleasure to recommend my dear friend, Jeanne Bastanier Sullivan, for this award, and I'm so excited that she won.
It's going to make me cry. I cry at Hallmark commercials, so don't worry. Thank you, Carol. When I was growing up, my father taught me gratitude. We would sit at the table and hold hands, and he would point heavenward to remind us all where our gifts came from. That belief of something greater connecting us all remained with me. As I grew older, I wanted to try to give back and express my gratitude through my passions, love of children, and helping others. We moved to Medfield almost 50 years ago. I met my husband here and raised my 3 wonderful children. As those of you who have children know, you quickly get sucked in to volunteer when the kids start school, from baking cookies to chaperoning field trips, and from there it grows. At my kids' preschool, the director tried to teach me to say no. And last year, a friend gave me a gift. It was a button that, when pressed, spoke many variations of no. I guess,
doesn't use.
I guess I didn't learn my lesson. I do love to lend a hand, and the reward is seeing smiling faces. Many years ago at Wheelock School, a number of volunteers taught foreign language enrichment classes. I taught German, and years later, as young adults, my students tell me they still remember some of the activities and songs they learned. I was honored over the years to be elected president of the CSAs at all of the schools, as well as the Medfield Coalition for Public Education and the Decorations Committee of the all-night graduation party. Being in a leadership role allowed me the opportunity to get to know, bring together, and work with hundreds of people from all walks of life, from devoted retirees like Gordon Yolden and folks from Tilden Village to parents and friends who came to make a difference. Volunteering builds community, and no one succeeds alone. The volunteers in Medfield are truly remarkable, and as Richard DeSorga likes to say, they're part of what makes Medfield, Medfield. The rewards are too many to count. For the all-night graduation party, the high school was completely transformed, with students often not recognizing their school as they were transported to other worlds. Hollywood and the Oscars, Paris and Moulin Rouge, and even a galaxy far, far away. Invariably, they said it was the best party ever. More recently, I assisted with the Little Red Wagon Walk for Hunger, a project involving the First Parish Unitarian Church, the First Baptist Church, and the Church of the Advent, teaching young children to help their neighbors by collecting non-perishables for the Medfield food cupboard and walking to Metacomet Park pulling wagons, loaded with food, and little ones who didn't want to miss riding in a wagon. For many years now, I have been co-chair of distribution of the Medfield food cupboard, and it's here that I have seen how volunteering truly makes a difference. I've learned to listen to others and to work in cooperation to promote dignity and respect for individuals and families going through a hard time. Volunteering makes you realize that we're all deeply connected to each other through the good times and the bad. John F. Kennedy said, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." So follow your passion and say yes. I'm lucky to live in Medfield, where the residents are committed to volunteerism on every level. Congratulations to all the nominees and award winners. Thank you to the Medfield Foundation and Rockland Trust for their work and for recognizing the many volunteers. I am humbled by the award, even more so by the fact that I'd be considered in the same category as Mike and Caroline Standley, who are truly remarkable and the most wonderful, dedicated volunteers in this town. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carol and John. Wonderful words. As I look around, I'm struck by the fact that there are faces that are familiar to me from past Volunteer of the Year event recognition award ceremonies. And I just thought it would be nice, since this whole event is really just to say thank you to people who have volunteered, I would just ask that anybody who has been nominated for an award through the 8 years we've been doing this, if they would just stand and we could thank them. And since we're thanking people, I would ask that anybody who has written a nomination, because I regard writing the nomination as just a remarkable thing for someone to do. If anybody's written a nomination, would they stand, please, and we can thank you for doing so. At this point, I'd like to introduce the president of the Medfield Foundation, Evan Weisenfeld, our energetic, active, strategic president.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming. It's really a special day today, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us to come out and recognize all the volunteers. And you've heard it before, but it's really what makes Medfield Medfield. And we, as the Medfield Foundation, are very fortunate to have the opportunity in town to recognize volunteerism. It's something that Pete and a few of his friends started a few years ago on behalf of the foundation, and we're honored to be able to continue what we do. If you enjoyed today's ceremony and you believe in volunteerism, please help spread the word. It's through you and the work that you do that people become aware of the opportunity to recognize those people in town who have done great works. We do understand that it's not just about the recognition. People don't do this for recognition, but we like to recognize and thank people. And it's not about singling anybody out, but it's about recognizing everybody for the work that they do. So on behalf of the Medfield Foundation, I would like to thank everybody for coming today and participating in the event. Thank you to the nominators and the nominees and all the guests who've played a role in why we are here today. We do feel very strongly about volunteerism and recognizing those individuals. Today's event would not have happened without the dedication and the efforts of Pete Peterson and Kathy Brennan, the Volunteer Awards Nominating Committee, and the Foundation board members. Pete and Kathy, what you guys do is tremendous, and the event is really a success, and it's really owed to you guys. So thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the Medfield Foundation Youth Leadership Team. It's a new program that was started this year. You might have seen students in their white fleece jackets. They were here setting up early. Binit is a member as well. We started that this year as a way to help bring students into volunteerism and a way to learn what it takes to be a leader and a volunteer in town. And we believe that the work that they're doing as the youth leadership team will help pay dividends, not only for college applications, but for how they will live their lives, because they've seen everybody here who is now an example of what it means to be a volunteer. Just like the volunteers recognized here today, the group volunteers, Medfield Foundation Board volunteers their time to make this event and everything else MFI does throughout the year a success. You may be familiar with some of the programs we do, including the Angel Run. We also help support many initiatives in town. So please, again, help spread the word to get more and more people involved. I'd like to thank the Rockland Charitable Trust Foundation, Blue Moon Bagel Cafe for the snacks in the back, and please help yourself, and Brothers Marketplace for the flowers for their support. Thank you to Medfield TV and Patch for promoting this. And if all nominees could please come forward, we're going to take some group photos. Thank you, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you again next year.
Production support provided by Medfield.tv. Access to our community.